In this episode, we're going to show you a different way to do what we did in the previous 3 Boat Builder episodes. We encourage boat builders to view the previous 7 lessons before viewing this one. 1. What is BARD tutorial? 2. BARD tour. 3. BARD combined table. 4. BARD basic query tutorial. 5. Boat Builder episodes parts 1, 2, and 3, each of which is a separate video. We will continue using our example of Malibu ski boats and towboats along with 2018 BARD. This combination provides several examples other boat builders will find helpful in identifying their own accidents. We will be throwing lots of information at you pretty quickly during this episode. We have multiple pages of help and assistance online with information on the BARD database, Microsoft Access, alternatives to Microsoft Access, how to get the BARD database, worksheets to make your research easier, tips on how to monitor your products after sale, and much more. Those materials are at propellersafety.com/propeller/BARD. In general, we would encourage beginners to take the approach we showed in the first 3 Boat Builder training episodes. We previously referred to them as number 5, parts 1, 2, and 3. We think it is important to get familiar with the actual data and what it looks like before you start creating queries that may or may not find what you're actually looking for. The basic plan of our different way is explained on this slide. We're going to quickly find most of the records we're looking for, then remove them from the list we are searching for the remainder of them from. This way, we will significantly reduce the number of hits we get as we try to tease the remainder of accidents out of the BARD database. Our different way approach starts by creating a copy of our combined table query, and naming the copy Malibu 3. We select Malibu 3, then select the Design View tool to design the query. The 2 boxes on the gray field represent the 2 data tables we tied together in our combined table, the Releasable Accidents table and the Releasable Vessels table. They're both keyed together by the unique BARD ID numbers of their records. Now we are going to pull to the right to the boat manufacturers column. As we continue to pull to the right, we remind you that in a query, an asterisk before some text is a wildcard that allows other characters to appear before the text. Similarly, an asterisk after the text is a wildcard that allows other characters to follow that text. We set the boat manufacturers column to like quotation mark asterisk Malibu asterisk quotation mark. This will find all the records in the boat manufacturer column with Malibu anywhere in them. Then we drop down 1 row and type like quotation mark asterisk MB2 asterisk quotation mark in the hull ID number column. This query will find all the hull ID numbers with MB2 in them anywhere, including the US-MB2 version we found earlier. We save our Malibu query and click on the exclamation mark to run the query. We look over the results. The query identified 37 accidents. We pull to the right. We're going to check some of these data fields to make sure the accidents, the 37 we identified, are actually Malibu accidents, not something else. We see this search picked up a boat in which the manufacturer was not listed, but the hull ID number MB2 was. We also see it picked up the Mali boat we found earlier. As to boats it was not supposed to find, meaning boats not built by this Malibu boat company, were built by Axis Wake Research, another Malibu company with their own NMIC code. We see a Malibu listed with T22 on it, which is the Axis Research boat we found earlier, with an MIC code of AWR. It does not really belong as part of this list. 1 Malibu kayak with kayak in the model column and no HIN code. In addition to the A22 and the kayak we found earlier that do not belong on this list, we see 3 more here. There's a Malibu Stealth 12, which is the 12-foot looking kayak boat we found earlier. It doesn't belong here. Plus there's an A24, which is another Axis boat. Plus at the bottom of the list we have a Starcraft John boat. It's been picked up because it has the letters MB2 out in the middle of its HIN code. That equals 5 non-Malibu boats. 37 minus 5 equals 32, which is what we found earlier in episode 2 before. We would note that this search also picked up the Malibu Boats Inc. boats, the two boats there, one of which belongs, the one with the ride on it. The A24 Axis boat has an interesting spelling in the engine manufacturer column of Malibu. What is next is we're going to return to our plan. We have completed step 1, now we're going to work on step 2. What we need to do now is to remove the 37 accidents we found earlier from our query. We want our new query to find every accident except those 37 accidents. We begin by opening our Malibu 3 query. As you can see, our Malibu 3 query currently finds accident records with Malibu anywhere in the boat manufacturer column or MB2 anywhere in the hull ID number column. Our goal now is to create the inverse of this selection. We want to select everything except what this query selected. Now we are going to invert the query. Our goal will be to select every record without Malibu in the boat manufacturer column or MB2 in the hull ID column. If you recall, our previous like query version of our Malibu 3 query selected 37 accidents. Our combined query table for 2018 public BARD has 5,167 records in it. So our goal will be to select those 5,167 records less 37 records, or 5,130 records that we did not select last time. Microsoft Access has a NOT query for selecting the inverse of a criteria. This sounds like a great idea at first, but it's a little challenging. The NOT query can be a little confusing with AND or queries. When the NOT query is used in conjunction with the asterisk wildcards in a NOT like query, it can be confusing with blank data fields. Two things can make data fields blank. One, nothing is in the data field. This is sometimes referred to as null by a database. Two, somebody entered a blank space into the data field instead of just leaving it blank. The not like query in conjunction with the asterisk wildcard treats null data fields and data fields that look empty but someone keyed a space into them differently. Because a not like criteria can be a little confusing, we create a close-up of how we are going to set the criteria to select the inverse of what we had before. When the criteria for the two columns are on the same line, it is an AND criteria. The record must meet the criteria on both sides, both for the hull ID number column and for the boat manufacturer column. First, let's look at the basics of what we actually selected last time. We selected records in which Malibu was in the manufacturer column and MB2 was in the hull ID number or HIN column. Last time we also selected records in which MB2 was in the HIN column and the manufacturer column was blank. As mentioned before, a data field being blank can be due to the field actually having no entry in it or to someone typing a blank space into that field. Our is null or quotation mark space quotation mark picks up those data fields in which have nothing in them are null or there is a space in them. Someone entered a space in them, so there'll be nothing in there. So is null or quotation mark space quotation mark will pick up those either way. Similarly, we selected records with Malibu in the boat manufacturer column and a blank in the HIN column. With our goal being to select everything else, we add a not to the side with a text in it for each entry, plus we add another line for the records with blank entries in both the boat manufacturer column and the HIN column. Now we will open our Malibu 3 query. Use Design View to delete both parts of the existing query. We have completed deleting the existing query. We will now add our new query we developed just before we started this section to find all records we did not find in our original query. We save the query, then we run the query. You can see in the lower left corner of the spreadsheet that the query correctly found the 5,130 records we were looking for. Now we're up to the first part of part 3 of our plan where we start running the MIC code variants. Now we begin to run the same process we did in the Boat Builder episode 2 when we started identifying variants of Malibu's MIC code of MB2. Now when we search the whole ID number column for each variant, we no longer have to look at the boat manufacturer column to see if we may have already found this accident or not. If we already found it, it is no longer on the list. All we have to do now, once we find a match, is to verify this is really a Malibu boat. This makes the process simpler and much faster. The variants of Malibu's MIC code of MB2 we identified earlier include B2, M82, MBZ, MP2, MV2, NB2, USMB2, and US-MB2. We launch our MP3 query. We pull across to the whole ID number column. We use the A to Z tool to organize it. Then begin pulling down, looking for the various targets beginning with B2. We pull down looking for B2. We see no B2. We pull down looking for M82. We see no M82. We pull down looking for MBZ. We see one MBZ. We follow it to the left. It is BARD ID number ID 2018-0026. We record that BARD ID number for future use. We pull back to the right. It had the Wakesetter for the boat manufacturer and MBZ for the hull ID code for the MIC. You need to be careful before you immediately think this is a Malibu boat. MBZ is a registered MIC code for MB Sports, a manufacturer of towboats. LSV-23 is a known model of Malibu boats. The combination of Wakesetter in the boat manufacturer column and 23 LSV in the boat model column, along with the known spelling variant of MBZ, convinces us this is a Malibu boat. We begin to pull down looking for MP2. We see no MP2. We begin to pull down looking for MV2. We see no MV2. We pull down looking for NB2. We see no NB2. We pull down looking for USMB2 and US-MB2. We see no USMB2. Where are we at now? Our different way process initially identified 32 accidents when we used the like search for Malibu in the boat builder column, or like MB2 as the manufacturer's MIC code in the hull ID number column. Then we inverted the selection and identified one more accident, BARD ID number ID-2018-0026, when we searched for variants of Malibu's MIC code in the hull ID number column. That now gives us a total of 33 accidents. Now we're going to quickly run the procedure we followed in Boat Builder Episode 3. It will go much quicker because there will be fewer hits to resolve. We are through with the whole ID number column. We've worked our way up to reviewing the various columns, the boat manufacturer column, the boat model column, the boat name column, and the redacted narrative column for clues this vessel might be a Malibu boat. Then we further evaluate those records meeting certain criteria. We will begin with the boat manufacturer column. We will search the boat manufacturer column for spelling variants of Malibu we identified earlier. We open our Malibu 3 query, use the A to Z tool on the BARD ID column, pull to the right, Use the A to Z tool on the boat manufacturers column. We pull down the boat manufacturer column looking for Malibu, A-L-I-B-U. We see no Malibu. We pull down further looking for Malibu, spelled M-A-L-A-B-U. We see no Malibu. We pull down looking for Mali, M-A-L-I, a shortened version of the boat builder name. We see no Mali. We drag on down looking for possible misspellings of Malibu before the place Malibu would be in this list and after the place Malibu would be in this list. While we do see a possible misspelling of the word Malibu combined with the word kayak in the boat manufacturers column with no engines and no horsepower, we find no misspellings of Malibu of interest to our search. We're still not quite done with the boat manufacturer column. We're looking at for some of the boat model names. We are going to search the boat manufacturers column for dominant model names and variants. We go back to our Malibu 3 query. We use the A to Z tool on the BARD ID column. Pull to the right. We use the A to Z tool on the boat manufacturer column. We pull down the column looking for response. We see no response. We pull down looking for Wakesetter. We see one Wakesetter with a model name of 23LSV and MBZ for the MIZ code. We found this unit earlier when we were searching for variants of the MIC code. We have completed the boat manufacturer column. Now we're moving on to the boat model column per our plan. Now we're going to search the boat model column for the boat builder's name and for dominant boat model names and their variants. We go back to our Malibu 3 query. We use the A to Z tool on the boat model column. We pull down looking for Malibu. We see one Malibu, Malibu 2XL, but it's one of the kayaks we're not looking for. There's a company called Ocean Kayak. One of their kayaks is called Malibu 2. That is why we know this one is a kayak, plus it has 0 engines and 0 horsepower. We pull down looking for a response. We see no response. We pull down looking for Wakesetter. We see no Wakesetter. Now we've finished the boat model column and we're moving on to the boat name column. Now we're going to search the boat name column for the boat builder's name and for dominant boat model names and their variants. We go back to our Malibu 3 query. We use the A to Z tool in the boat or vessel name column. We pull down looking for Malibu. We see one Malibu, but it's another kayak from Ocean Kayak. We pull down looking for a response. We see no response. We pull down looking for Wakesetter. We see no Wakesetter. That completes our search of the boat or vessel name column. Now we're up to searching the redacted narrative. Now we search the redacted narrative for the boat builder's name, Malibu. We go back to our Malibu 3 query. We use the A to Z tool on the BARD ID number column. We widen the redacted narrative column to make it easier to read. We select the header of the redacted narrative column. We select a magnifying glass for Find, and enter Malibu as our search term. We set the options or limiters to look in the current field, redacted narrative, to match any part of the field. We leave the Match Case box blank and we'll let the system automatically select what it thinks is best for the search fields as formatted option. We click on Find up in the top left to make sure we have Find selected instead of Replace. Then we click on Find Next. We are going to record each BARD ID we identify here for future use. The system finds BARD ID number NC-2018-0093. We click Find Next. The system finds BARD ID number NC-2018-0146. We click Find Next. The system finds BARD ID number UT-2018-0048. We click Find Next. The system finds BARD ID UT-2018-0083. We click Find Next. The system finds BARD ID WA-2018-0048. We click Find Next. A pop-up indicates the system has completed its search. It can find no more redacted narratives with the word Malibu in them. Our search of the redacted narratives found 5 accidents. Now we need to determine if we found them earlier or not. I checked each of these 5 accidents against the spreadsheet we exported in Boat Builder episode Part 3 and updated at the end of Part 3. All 5 accidents are already listed. We found all of them earlier. In addition, each of these 5 records pertains to a non-Malibu vessel that was involved in an accident with a Malibu boat. We are starting to wrap things up now. We've completed our work with the hull ID number column, with the boat manufacturer column, the boat model column, the boat name column, and the redacted narrative column. Where are we at now? We've used a different way to complete our search of the 2018 public BARD for Malibu boat accidents and identify a total of 33 accidents. Our earlier quick running of the steps we demonstrated in our Boat Builder episode Part 3, but using our different way approach, found no additional accidents. As I mentioned earlier, we encourage boat builders to begin by using the techniques shown in Boat Builder episodes Parts 1, 2, and 3. Once you gain a good understanding of the BARD data surrounding your particular boats, you might consider moving to the different way technique. One Microsoft Access tip you may not be aware of: you can click the drop-down arrow just to the right of the query column headings and select the A to Z tool to alphabetize the columns there. We just do it using the tool shown up higher because it's easier to see what we're doing and because that's the way we did it on earlier versions of Microsoft Access. The 33 accidents we found earlier with our different way approach are the same 33 we found in Boat Builder Parts 1, 2, and 3 earlier. That wraps up Boat Builder Episode 5, Part 4. Thanks for watching. Please leave any comments or suggestions below.